Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the stripping is done, we'll take our leave and go. Hello, mateys. Welcome to Rogue Mother Rising, the channel where we're not quite sure what we're doing, but we're gonna get her done. Today is February 3rd, 2026, 3:16 a.m. Last night while I was scrolling on Facebook, I came across a post for a day activity group place in my town, and I came across something that I was not aware of before. So I'm going to read you the post, and then I'm going to read you what I AI'd, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to have more questions or I'm just putting this up here so I remember. Okay, and it's a risk mitigation specialist. Yeah, so I'm curious about that. It's the second day of the second month of 2026, and it just so happens to be a Monday, which means it's time for, I blocked it out, today's admin team member and their why for being with, I blocked it out. I've always had a strong passion for supporting individuals with disabilities and their families. ... stood out to me because of its focus on respect, inclusion, and individualized care. I see the impact this work has every day, and it's meaningful to be part of a team that helps people feel safe, supported, and empowered. My work with writing risk mitigation plans allows me to contribute to that mission in a way that truly protects people and helps them succeed. So that's the post I seen, and I thought, well, what's a risk mitigation specialist? Okay, so the top part is just where I had told ChatGPT, I just want to read this. I didn't want any advice or anything, because I had it on my phone and it's easier for me to read on here. Okay. Risk mitigation for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, IDD, in Oregon focuses on person-centered, documented plans to address health, safety, and independence. Key strategies include developing individualized risk mitigation plans, implementing, monitoring, and reviewing, and ensuring backup plans for service providers. The process emphasizes balancing safety with the dignity of risk. And on my Google AI, I don't know if it remembers I was asking it about dignity of risk. It says it doesn't remember past past conversations. So this is right here, bringing up dignity of risk right there. Those are big terms on my channel here on this ship. Key components of risk mitigation in Oregon: individualized support plans, ISPs. All serious risks must be listed in the ISP's Risk Management Plan section, which details how to address them. Risk assessment and mitigation. If a person is assessed with a high or medium risk, case managers must develop a mitigation plan with them. If a person chooses not to participate in a plan, that decision must be documented. Incident management. Serious incidents must be reported to the Client Assessment Management System within 7 days. Monitoring and support. Regular contact is required to monitor risk until they are reduced. Backup plans. Plans must include emergency contact information and alternative support if the primary provider is unavailable. Dignity of risk. Individuals are empowered to make choices regarding their risks and independence. Legal considerations. Risk plans must account for any legal restrictions, such as sex offender registration requirements when applicable. Important considerations. Risks should be identified based on the disability, not just developmental level for children, e.g. crossing the street. Disability. I'm a little confused. I would think that the risks should be identified on their developmental level. That's the whole problem I'm running into with the strip club. They keep saying since they're adults, they can do whatever they want. Yeah, I get that. But when people are coercing them, saying, hey, we got a field trip over to the field trip, everybody's going, you want to go? It's going to be fun. They're all going to want to go. They have no idea of what they're signing up for to destroy their lives. Okay, carry on. For individuals in Oregon, the Office of Developmental Disability Services, ODDS, requires that any serious incidents, such as abuse, be reported to the proper authorities, with incident management teams reviewing for trends. If the person's chosen setting continues to have high risks, they may be required to choose a different provider. So I guess that means that if the person was to move into somebody's group home, or they hired somebody to take them out to help them with their ADLs, activities of daily living. If the worker doesn't want to go to a strip club all the time, then the client just chooses somebody else that does want to go. I guess that's what that means. And then, I just read exactly what I had put up there. So I could see it easier than on my phone, but here's that would have been easier to read. Okay, I'm going to ask this question. Okay, carrying on. Before the activity is even approved, a specialist would require documented assessment of decision-making capacity specific to sexual content, financial transactions, and power dynamics, clear statement of purpose, socialized outing versus sexualized entertainment, documented informed consent that shows the person understands what a strip club is, what will and will not happen, that workers are paid performers, not personal companions. If capacity is partial or fluctuating, added safeguards or outright exclusion would be recommended. If informed consent cannot be clearly demonstrated, a specialist would usually recommend denial of the activity or substitution. That makes sense. Okay. Absolute prohibited conditions at the strip club. A risk specialist would almost always add non-negotiable boundaries such as no private rooms or VIP areas, no lap dances, no physical contact with performers, no staff facilitating or paying for sexual services, no staff acting as wingman, translator, or negotiator, no alcohol consumption by the individual or the provider, no cash handling assistance beyond a preset limit. These are critical because staff involvement in sexualized transactions creates legal and abuse risk. Really? Huh. Staff role and clarity and boundaries. The plan would explicitly state providers are observers for safety only, not participants. So they won't be looking at any of the naked girls taking off their clothes. Oh no, not the paid care providers. They've all passed a criminal history check. And if this says that show is only for the clients, I can assure you, they're not looking at all because they're all professionals. Providers must maintain visual supervision at all times, Sit separately when possible, so not only are they not going to look, they're going to be across the room in the back. Avoid normalization of sexualized behavior. Seems like taking them to a strip club would make it seem normal. I mentioned that in my first post to the place. It's not normal. And monthly? They're going to go monthly, every month. Okay, gender matching requirements. Often same gender staff only. I can assure you, or allegedly, what I seen and what I heard is they did not go by any of those rules. It was the girls and the guys together. And I see one of the girls and the guys in the pictures all the time that scroll by on the reels. Providers may terminate the outing immediately if boundaries are crossed. This protects both the individual and the provider from allegations or harm. Financial safeguards, major risk area. Strip clubs are considered financial exploitation hotspots. Added controls would include preset spending limit, documented, no ATM use during the outing, no staff handling cash except emergency retrieval, no tipping facilitated by staff, receipts or spending log required afterwards, and the payee or guardian notification if applicable. I guess they'd have to let me know first. I don't know. Transportation and exit planning. A specialist would require direct transport only, no walking, rides from third parties, or lingering outside, pre-planned exit cues and scripts, immediate exit if the environment becomes more explicit than expected. Well, I already read on one of the care providers' Facebook, one of his friends said that they have lots of ass in the face. So I think it's pretty explicit. They're saying it all. The individual becomes overstimulated, aroused, distressed, or fixated. They're going to become all of those things. That's what you go to a strip club for. No post-venue loitering or secondary locations. No, they're just going to all go back to the group homes together. 6. Trauma, exploitation, and after effects monitoring. Plans would include post-outing monitoring, such as check-ins for emotional distress, fixation, or confusion, monitoring for increased sexualized behavior, misunderstanding of relationships, requests to return repeatedly, or escalate experiences. They're going to go every month, and probably after that, they're probably going to go every week when they find out that they can get away with it. Documentation of any changes in behavior or vulnerability. They're already vulnerable. They shouldn't be going there, not with their paid care support staff. I understand they can go. They can call a cab and go on their own. More power to them. That's their business. Paid care providers do not need to be going with them. Repeated fixation would trigger a risk reassessment. They're going every month. All right. Staff training requirements, I've always wondered. Only specially trained staff would be permitted, with training in sexual boundaries and exploitation risks, mandated reporting thresholds, power dynamics and coercion, how to refuse requests safely and neutrally, how to document incidents factually. Untrained staff involvement would be considered a system failure. Incident triggers. Lower reporting thresholds. A specialist would usually lower the bar for reporting, requiring CAM reports for any sexualized contact attempt, any financial pressure from performers, any misunderstanding of consent, any staff discomfort or boundary strain, any third-party interference, These would be flagged as potential abuse or exploitation indicators, even if no harm occurred. 9. Dignity of risk with limits. Risk specialists support dignity of risk only when the person understands the risk, safeguards meaningfully reduce harm, the activity does not rely on staff facilitating sexualized experiences. The staff is completely facilitating it. They made a Facebook post saying they're going every month on a field trip. Come join them. If the risk remains consistently high, the plan would state, continued participation may require choosing a different activity or provider setting. So yeah, if these clients decide they like going to strip club and they want to go to strip club every day, then it's up to them to find a new place to live. How are they going to do that? How many people, after they find out all these people have been going to strip clubs for the last few years, are going to want to introduce that into their group home? It's just a bunch of more problems and trouble they don't need. The idea of these group homes, which I don't agree with group homes, I think that there should be some group homes, but there should also be some institutionally larger group home settings where there's more eyes on the people. These group homes are not safe for certain people in the population. They are not. And neither, I guess, obviously, are group day activity groups. At least in the institutions, they had rules. People couldn't take their clients strip clubbing just for a fun night. Where was I? Okay, number 10, the likely professional conclusion. In many Oregon cases, risk management specialists would conclude strip clubs are not a reasonable community integration activity for individuals requiring direct support. I would agree. The legal, ethical, and exploitation risks often outweigh the benefit. Safer alternatives should be explored. Adult social spaces without sexualized labor dynamics. That conclusion would still be framed as risk reduction, not moral judgment. So this is where we're at. So I'm actually thinking about calling that girl. I could track her down. She's right here in my town. I want to find out what kind of protection there are for people like my son in my town and the whole United States, but I need to start here because this is where I live. They should have never put me through this. They should have never put my family through this. They should have never put my son through this. I'm going to be signing him up for a new day activity group because he really misses going to day activity groups. So he's not going back to the one that he did go to. I have one other one I'm going to call and find out about. And then he might go back to the one that I talked about in a few videos back, that they didn't want to let him in without the ISP plan. Well, the caseworker told me that they can't send it, but if he really wanted to go, we could just take the same papers and hand it to him in person, which is fine. But, you know, that just means that it's all just a bunch of, how do I even word this? So for their safety, for client safety, they don't send the ISP. But the other place says that they always get the ISP. And so if it's for client safety that they don't get it, you know, the broker won't give it to them. But me, now the legal guardian, at the time it would have been my son, because I wasn't his legal guardian yet, he can just hand it to them and they're not concerned about their safety at all. There's no rhyme or reason to any of these rules. They need to be fixed. No wonder the workers think that, you know, how they think. There doesn't seem to be any really solid thing about providing care for people in this country anymore. It's a free-for-all. It is a free-for-all. Oh, I don't know what else to say. So do you think I should try to call the risk mitigation specialist and just I would be very nice to her. I would just want to ask her some questions about, what is making them think that this is okay to do. It's been very traumatic on me and my son. Very traumatic. I should not be having to fight this fight. And the younger parents, holy moly. I'm like the first generation of parents that was said, all right, there's no other option for you. There's no institutions. It used to be easier when there was institutions, and, they would all go. I've read a lot of stories about people that worked in them. It was nice. I'm going somewhere I don't want to go with this. Okay. Join my ship. Join my mutiny. Let's get these laws and let's get these guidelines narrowed down so everybody's working off the same rule book. The safety rule book. We need a ship of safety special needs rule book. Thank you for sailing on my special needs safety ship. I want to get the rules and the guidelines fixed so everybody can understand them with no misunderstanding. They mention families all the time, but they're not listening to families' voices. They're not listening to my voice. I used to think that people had compassion, empathy, respect for me, that I've taken care of my children. I was a very young mother. And now to find out that all these people that I thought had my back all these years, they don't. I'm an obstacle in their way of them getting to my son's soul. And I won't happen. I won't let it happen. I will not let it happen. So join my ship and we'll figure out what to do together. Bye.